Hello, guys! Welcome to our yet another episode of our lecture series. In today's episode, we are going to talk about torture and ritual abuse. In this presentation, we are going to introduce, define, know the condition's etiology, manifestations, treatment therapies, and ethical legal considerations. Without further ado, let's get into it. Ritual abuse torture is perpetrated against children of all ages, some as young as infants. If victimized children are not identified, they can become captive and enslave adult victims. Ritual abuse torture can happen in the home, in like-minded neighbors' homes, in buildings belonging to ritual abuse torturers such as warehouses, cottages, cabins, on farms, out of doors, or any place that is safe for the perpetrators. Victims have reported incidents in 20 countries, including Canada, USA, Barbados, New Zealand, Australia, Antarctica, Madagascar, South Africa, Chad, England, and the list goes on. As generally defined, ritual abuse torture is the abuse and torture of children and captive adults within violent organizing family, group systems, and gatherings, and is a form of non-state torture. Studies have provided insights into identifying 10 violent thematic issues as components of pattern of family ritual abuse torture victimization. Narratives from victimized women suggest that victimization generally begins in infancy or soon thereafter. A visual model of ritual abuse torture displays the organization of the co-culture. Examples of family gatherings known as rituals and ceremonies provide insight into how these gatherings are used to normalize pedophilic violence. A child who is being abused may feel guilty, ashamed, or confused. He or she may be afraid to tell anyone about the abuse, especially if the abuser is a parent, other relatives, or family friend. That's why it's vital to watch for red flags such as withdrawal from friends or usual activities, changes in behavior such as aggression, anger, hostility, or hyperactivity, or changes in school performance, depression, anxiety, or unusual fears or sudden loss of self-confidence, an apparent lack of supervision, frequent absences from school, reluctance to leave school activities as if he or she doesn't want to go home, attempts at running away, rebellious or defiant behavior, and lastly, self-harm or attempts at suicide. Treatment can help both children and parents in abuse situations. The first priority is ensuring the safety and protection for children who have been abused. Ongoing treatment focuses on preventing future abuse and reducing the long-term psychological and physical consequences of abuse. Treatment requires the cooperation of medical, psychological, and social disciplines. It is important to emphasize that psychotherapy shows a promising result and a significant one in the treatment of this condition. Nursing and medical management of this condition involves helping the victim to seek appropriate medical care, seeking immediate medical attention for the victim that shows signs and symptoms of injury or change in consciousness. Follow-up care with a doctor or other healthcare provider may be required, and the psychotherapy. This involves talking with a mental health professional and will aid a victim that has been abused to learn to trust again. It will also help the victim to have a normal behavior and relationships. And lastly, it will teach the victim how to manage and boost self-esteem. Several types of therapy may be effective, such as trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy. This type of therapy helps a victim who has been abused to better manage distressing feelings and to deal with trauma-related memories. As to community-based approach and ethical legal consideration, in our country, there are many laws that pertains and address this concern. For instance, the Anti-Torture Act of 2009, or the RA 9745. It provides for the right of freedom from cruelty, inhumane, and degrading punishment or treatment, in particular with respect to person in custody and prisoners. Another one is the Republic Act 7610, the Special Protection of Children Against Abuse, Exploitation, and Discrimination Act. It is an act providing for stronger deterrence and special protection against child abuse, exploitation, and discrimination, providing penalties for its violation and for other purposes. The ethical principle that should be upheld in this situation is the principle of justice. Principle of justice should be an element of fairness in all medical decisions. Some cultures normalize this torture and ritual abuse, but still, justice should still be considered because human has right to be protected from any kind of abuse. And that's it for torture and ritual abuse. Thank you guys, and see you in the next one.